So before we go into some specifics, oh yeah, this mic is much better. We have a question.
Well, I could word my question better. So I put it in my phone like you did, and I'm going to read it. It's much better. Okay, my question to you is, your exceptional wisdom and leadership capabilities at age of 16 are truly remarkable.
Thank you.
And can you share with us the experiences and the influences that allowed you to develop such a profound understanding of human nature and emotional intelligence at such a young age?
Thank you for that question and acknowledgement. Did everybody hear the question? What were the influences that allowed me to come to such wisdom by the age of 16? And you know, I have a thought in terms of how I answer the question, because it just so happens I am gifted to have my older brother here. I don't know that being put on the spot, do you have something you might want to say about an answer to that question?
The influences?
Or like, how does it make sense that I would know all these things by 16? Do you want it?
Well, I taught him everything he knows. I'm actually just kidding. He taught me everything I know. I could just say that his stories represent many stories that came daily, all growing up throughout his life. And always amazing, from teachers and principals that wrote him cards calling him superior names and thanking him, to having a garage full of students whose lives transformed in front of everybody. I can remember one mother who called very upset that her son was seeing Ron and he's doing psychotherapy. And I remember Ron getting off the phone being very scared. Are they going to come and get me? Am I going to get in trouble? What's going to happen? And he invited her to a session, and she and other parents, he set up chairs, right, and watched his session. And then when it was finished, she stood up and said, Jesus is speaking through Ron, and went from kicking out her kid, not letting him see Ron anymore, or kicking him out of the house, I think was the choice, to acknowledging Ron in front of everybody. And that's one of the zillions of stories I remember.
Wow. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. So, you know, it's an interesting thing. In kindergarten, I really had, I remember my whole thought process back then. So what's interesting is, one of the ways I've learned through the years about the inner alignment method is paying attention to what I was doing. Because like I told everyone when I was 17, they'd make a big deal about these things. And I'd say, there's something I'm doing inside of myself that if you guys were doing, your lives would show up like mine in your own unique ways. And now I know what it is I was doing, and I continue to pay attention to what it is I continue to do, and I discover more and more and more and more every single day. I'm always discovering more. Any other questions?
How do you shut off the noise in your head?
How do you shut off the noise in your head? How many of you relate to noise in your head? Yeah. So I've been learning more than ever, more deeply, the answer to that question. And in one of actually I was asked to share with you what's available right now because people have been asking. So I will partially answer that question, and I'll answer it more as I go more into it. But first, so what's available for you in the back is a book that I wrote specifically to be transformational, not just information, because information does not change our lives. I think most of you are quite aware of that. So it's written to be transformational. There's like downloading going on throughout the reading. Every session tends to be a life-changing event. We still do sessions with each other. Typically, we do them on our own, but to have each other sit there, it blows my mind every time I have a session. And, I think, I live in it all day long, It moves, the method changes your personal computer, personal iOS, into a supercomputer, and the supercomputer explodes more on a constant basis. And every session takes me to crazy new levels, and it's not just in the head, it's integration. Did you want to say something else? Oh, good.
I think we're all sold. We feel you.
Oh, good. Move forward.
Just give it to us.
Thank you. Thank you. This is an example of the inner alignment method. We're not being careful, we're being who we are. So I mentioned about snap judgments, right? That I noticed throughout my life. So the inner alignment method takes negativity and judgment, and we put it into this conversation with ourselves. I use the terms child and true adult. The child is like our right brain and our heart. The true adult is our left brain and our head. And we have two separate seats. And we literally have a conversation with ourselves. And what happens is completely extraordinary. I've explained this to many people. Typically, clinical psychologists will say, oh yeah, it's this. Oh yeah, I know about that. And as soon as they start having an experience, they're like, what the hell? This is a whole different thing. And it's literally like any relationship you have with anybody. The more time you spend together, the more deeply you develop the relationship. And when it's you with yourself, there's kind of no hiding, but there really sort of is, because the child part of you knows how ready and available you are to hear what needs to be said. There are many checks and balances in the system. So the child will only feel safe to share what the adult's ready for. There are exceptions, so that's a little more involved. And I developed an online course called the Course in Life Mastery, because I'm training people how to do it on their own without me, which is asking a hell of a lot, especially because the child is the part of us walking around on the planet every day. So the person we are normally is what I refer to as the child. Now, my religious leader clients say, there's this other part of the child I discover in this process, which I call the child of the infinite, where the spiritual leaders I've worked with, they say, I never knew it was possible to have a direct relationship with God. And I literally feel that I have a direct relationship with God. So that's a whole other category that my quantum physicist clients flip out, and they say, you literally are plugging us into the quantum realm without having to understand any of it. So the course, there are videos, it's structured in modules, and there are videos where I'm teaching you how to do a particular exercise for a week. And I use the opportunity of teaching the exercise to teach you all kinds of things where you're just taking it in. None of it's complicated. Everybody's always shocked at how simple it is and that they understand everything I'm saying, and it's very easy to digest. And then when you've done the first module exercise, and I'm strong about doing it every day for a week, The exercises, almost all of them, take very little time. And yet they're rewiring your system for alignment. Each exercise has so many benefits all at once. And then you go to the next one, and it's like, wow, that's really easy to do too, and it takes so little time. And that's how it works. And as you go from module to module, your system is being kind of rewired for alignment. And then by the time you get to the module that's teaching you how to literally have a conversation with yourself, I think you'll find that you're ready. You know, I say I think you find because there's quite a range of people, and it's different for everybody. It's a very personal relationship that you're developing in this process. So I use the snap judgment simple concept because what happens is we become increasingly more aware of how we judge ourselves and others, which is always what throws us out of alignment. It's always what puts down the child where the child's afraid, afraid to be our organic natural selves. We have all these things. We develop, I call it the little adult, or child in coping mode. And that happens when we're very young, of course. We come in as a child of the infinite, available to everything. Just energetically, we feel everything. And then there's some kind of negativity or judgment that happens in our lives from the big people who are like gods to us. And all the child knows, all we knew as children, is something's wrong with me, that all this negativity or anger is coming at me. There must be something so terrible about who I am that I'm just screaming and crying or shut down, hoping a big person will make everything okay. And when the big people know how to be true adults, which is what the inner alignment method teaches you how to be, it's very effortless too. I'll tell you more about that shortly. When a true adult is there for us, we literally evolve very organically. When no true adult is there for us, when we're hurt children, a child of the infinite who's all of a sudden like, what the heck is happening here? This is terrible. And then there's no big person. We're forced into what I call coping mode. It's a mode. It's a disconnection from our true self, trying to figure out how to be a big person to line up with the big people, which is why I also call the coping child a little adult. Little, but trying to be an adult. And that's where our programs come from, and then our programs are always running until they literally get healed, truly healed. But they can't truly heal from anybody outside of us. It's only when we can shift from the traumatized space of that little adult into this separate seat, separate hemisphere of the brain, true adult, that we can connect with ourselves in that other seat. And then you switch back and it's a whole mind-blowing experience. Like I can develop a relationship with this person. This is the one person I probably can trust. Probably can trust. See, you still have to develop that relationship. And these conversations do just that. And the relationship is infinite in its depth and complexity and potentiality. And that's what blows our minds every day.
Maybe they would like to understand what a session looks like.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I'm just here.
Get to it.
Okay. So I'll give an example of myself, because I'm the only example I have of my own session. Do you have something to say, Maya? Close the door, yes. Thank you. So, as a child and as a young adult my whole life, my father used to say to me, don't let anybody push you around. Don't let anybody take advantage of you. You know, people are assholes. And they suck. They lie and cheat. He's right. A lot of people are. And so, don't let anybody take advantage of you. Now, if anyone here who knows my father knows that he's a scary dude. And not that unlike the example that I read of the testimonial, except for never violent, never physically violent. Although he did tell me that he hired a hitman once to kill somebody, but that's a different story. He got scared and backed out. So I was raised with a father who would scream and yell and just absolutely destroy people. I mean, he yelled at somebody once. I thought, my God, the guy's gonna go home and commit suicide. Never was that way to me. Why? I stood up to him. From this big, I was like, you will not come at me like that. You will not come at me like that. So, as I walk through my world, you know, my life, you know, tough girl, badass that I am, which I am. You know, I saw, how many of you saw Dances with Wolves? Anybody see Dances with Wolves?
Yeah.
Remember Stands with Fists? Little Girl Stands with Fists? When I watched Dances with Wolves and I saw Stands with Fists, I cried, you know, because I have walked through the world as Stands with Fists, which served me well as a real estate broker, fighting for my clients as an attorney, and protecting myself and those around me. I stand with fists. Have stood with fists. So one session I was feeling blamed about something, you know, which happens a lot, and still occasionally does show up as one knows where I do feel blamed. And sometimes I really am, and sometimes I'm not. It doesn't even matter. Maybe I really am blamed. Doesn't matter. That's one of the things that you learn. So I felt blamed. And I was very triggered about this, the way, you know, somebody treated me or whatever happened. So I decided to have a conversation with my child about it. Because anytime there's negativity or upset at ourselves or others, it's information to become curious about why. It's information to become curious about why. Anytime you're walking through the world and you feel something that doesn't feel good, that's information for you, that's a notification. That's actually God or the universe or whatever it is saying, ding, 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 there's something for you to pay attention to. You don't feel good? You deserve to feel good all the time. If you don't feel good, get interested in why. So I decided to become interested in why. I was very upset about this situation. So I decided to talk to my child about it. This is what it looks like. Okay, first you start in the adult chair. You get centered and you actually visualize your child, yourself, your inner child, sitting next to you, sitting over here. That is a separate entity. Your child of the infinite. And this is my child. I cannot believe that asshole. He blamed me for the escrow company charging too much. That has nothing to do with me. I called them and told them to please reduce their fee, and then he'd still get blamed, and then I got blamed because of da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Wow. Wow, Debbie. You seem very upset about that. I'm noticing that you're upset about that. The adult does not judge. The adult does not agree or disagree. We don't agree with or disagree with the child. The child is having an experience that we are noticing, and we are paying attention to that child's experience. We don't agree or disagree.
Don't try to fix.
And we don't try to fix it. That's right. Isn't that always our natural place to go? Who wants to fix it? Who's a fixer? Fixer. Fixer.
I used to be.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. people said to me, why'd you get into dog rescue? So why are you so good at dog rescue? I said, I tried to fix all the men before me. I couldn't do it. So I got into dogs. It's working out great. You just love them. They love you back. It's great. It's perfect. So easy. So the adult comes over and says, I notice that you feel this way and you feel blamed. I find that, that's very interesting. Do you have anything else to say about that? Well, then you switch back into the child seat. My father told me not to take it from anyone, and I'm not going to take it from them. This is totally unfair to me. I'm so good at what I do, and I work so hard, and I put my heart and my soul into protecting people, and I give them everything, all of my education, all of my goodness, and that's what I bring every day. And to be misunderstood or to be blamed is devastating to me. It's devastating to me because it's not the truth of who I am, and I don't feel seen, and I don't feel like they know me, and I feel abused, and I feel hurt, and I'm angry about that. All of those feelings that we all feel in whatever way that we do, but however it shows up. And then you move back over here and you say, wow, I'm noticing that you feel blamed, you feel angry about that, it's not fair to you, and it's very difficult for you. I'm noticing that it's very difficult for you, not agreeing or disagreeing, not trying to fix it. You move back over to the other side, the child says and brings whatever she or he wants to bring, and you move back into the adult seat. This seems very simple, right? It is. It's actually very simple. And it is massively transformational in incomprehensible ways. What your child will bring you, what the information your child will bring you, will be appropriate in scope and timing. And that is why the inner alignment method, we are constantly evolving no matter what. Because once I've gotten through this material of blame and anger and frustration over that, different material comes up, deeper material. When that deeper material comes up, and that's cleared, then we have even a deeper connection to who we are. And then, instead of getting angry when something goes wrong and a client has an issue, I step over here and I think, wow, that's actually quite sad. They don't see me accurately. And that's not my responsibility. And actually it's sad for them because it means that they don't see other things in their lives clearly. And that's actually devastating. Because if they're blaming me for this, that means they're blaming other people for other things that are inaccurate. So instead of being angry that I'm being blamed and all this stuff, I have a deeper awareness and understanding of what the other person is experiencing. See, nothing's ever personal. They're not blaming me. It's something in them that they are not, where they have that tape running that you asked about, that corruption running underneath it all, that doesn't allow them to really experience what the accuracy of what's happening. Now let's say somebody does make a mistake, which I have, and I do. So then I say, yeah, I did make a mistake, and let's talk about that. Let's talk how to flow through it together. That's why Ron and I never fight. Because if one of us does something that the other person doesn't feel good about, we get interested in why it doesn't feel good. Why it doesn't feel good for me, why he did it. So what this clears up is that anytime there is negativity or judgment, point it to ourselves. That's the first bit of information. Point it at ourselves. Wow, I'm such a loser. I can't believe I did that. Oh my God, I tripped, I fell. I broke something, I can't believe it. That's information. That same energy, that same energetic judgment that we have on ourselves will show up onto other people. How many of you have noticed that the people who are most critical of themselves are also the most critical of other people? Unless they're a borderline sociopath, then they just criticize other people. They don't care. They're perfect. But generally, most people that criticize themselves also are the most critical of other people. They're hard on themselves and others. So what is the inner alignment method? Celebrating ourselves and others. The more we celebrate our own child, the more we are the truth of our own child, the more we clear those wounds. And it is amazing and strange, to be honest, how having this simple conversation can clear. And then now I walk around, I'm like, wow, there's that blame thing again. How interesting. Maya said to me the other day, Mom, you just blamed me for something, and I don't think that was right. Like, I didn't really deserve that. You know what I said? No, before, what would I have said, Maya? What would I have said before the inner alignment method?
I don't care.
I don't care. I'm a good mother. I work hard. I'm a single mom. I'm doing everything for you. I revolve my life around you. And I'm this much off, and you're going to blame me for it? I might not say this, but I might think, I can't believe how spoiled she is. I cannot believe it. She has everything. She has horses, she has dogs, she has a yard, it's beautiful. She goes to the best elementary, it's so cute. I ride the horse to pick her up. I rode the horse and led the pony to pick her up. And she's going to complain that I blamed her by accident, something this small? How dare she? Now I might not say all that, but right, we think it. And that energetically goes into our children. And parents don't mean to do that. We don't ever want to do that. But we do, because we're human. So the other day she said to me, Mom, you blamed me for something. I was like, really? I can't believe you did. I said, wow, thank you for telling me. I really appreciate that, because there's that blame thing again that I am really well aware of. That thing shows up all the time. How fascinating. All the time that thing showed up again. You know what? Thank you for pointing it out to me. How often do we say that to our partners? Thank you for pointing it out to me. Does anybody say that to their partner? Thank you for pointing it out. Very good. Anyone else? Thank you for pointing, well, you do the other one. Thank you for pointing it out to me. We don't have to agree or disagree, do we? That's what the inner alignment method does. You now stand into a true adult position, and you're taking in the other person's child. They're in their reaction, whatever it is, and we're noticing, and we say, thank you for pointing it out to me. We don't have to agree or disagree. Maybe they're completely wrong. Maybe we actually were blaming them. They're just so used to being blamed. The other day, I'm a yeller, have been a yeller. My family yelled a lot. Then we scream at each other, then we go to lunch like nothing happened. And that was my normal, So when people would say, oh my God, Debbie yelled it. Debbie, I yelled? They don't even know what yelling looks like. I'm telling you right now, no idea what yelling even looks like. I was quiet. It's real. And it's true. I mean, they have no idea what yelling looks like. I'm telling you, really, because I can really lay it down. And I don't know if we'd be proud about that, but very good at it. And so Maya has experienced over the years my yelling. And so the other day she said, you're yelling at me. Now I knew I wasn't yelling, or I felt I wasn't yelling. Doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter whether we're actually yelling or not. She perceived that in that moment. Now, I'm a strong person, so even if I'm not yelling, it could feel like yelling to somebody else. And it could feel like yelling to them just because the person's energy is like this. We feel energy, right? Bruce Lipton, anyone here with Bruce? Right. So we feel things. It doesn't have to be words, right? People feel things. Infants feel, right? They feel, they don't know. They just feel it. So when we feel something, it can feel loud.
And then we try to put something on it, like, oh, the person was yelling, or the person's passive aggressive, or whatever the word we want to overlay onto whatever we're feeling, which we know we're feeling, what we feel is negativity, which might have felt my negativity in that moment. So what I want to share is, this group is not going to just jump in and start doing like a conversation, because you're going to be like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. This is really weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm agreeing. I think I'm agreeing. I'm not supposed to be agreeing. Oh my God, I'm doing it wrong. Ah! Right? How many people who've tried to do the alignment method once or twice and thought, oh my God, I'm doing it wrong? And that's scary, because then you're like, am I going to screw up my child? Am I going to ruin my life? I could make things worse. So so that is why there is, if you're working with Ron one-on-one, you have a master guide who will make sure that it goes exactly the way it needs to go. Exactly. Master soul. True master soul.
Digress. Thank you.
Yeah.
Debbie? Amazing. I have had people contact me saying, I've done so many therapies, I've been reading self-help for decades. I cannot believe one book has literally changed my life so quickly and so deeply. So I did write it to make that possible. And to speak to the top expert and someone who knows nothing and have everybody engaged throughout the whole book, I do think I accomplished that. However, there is a lot more complexity to being able to do this simple back and forth conversation with ourselves for a lot of different reasons. So, and there are people who have so much noise that if they just try to jump in on their own, it could blow them open because they have no real reference for what I call healthy separateness of a true adult, separate. So the child, the one in life, is there. So, makes me nervous about people in that kind of circumstance just jumping in. So the course is designed, and it's way better for all of us. I do the exercises in the course in Life Mastery because they're so simple and take so little time, and they rewire us all the time. I still use those. I could be in the middle of a conversation with somebody. Now this doesn't really happen anymore, but when it did, I'd have a little trigger go on, and I could literally do one of the exercises in the middle of the conversation and completely shift me into alignment and change the whole movement. So the implications are truly profound. I want to thank you, my extraordinary wife, for who you are all day long, every day, and your gift to me that you are constantly.
And we all want to